So could you tell me a little bit about what a typical content partnership is with some of the publishers you work with, or is there even a typical in something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I would say all of our partnerships at a general level are extremely creative and bespoke, but all of them across the board are designed to really enrich the conversations that are happening on the Twitter platform every day. So people are coming to Twitter to find and participate in conversations around the things that they're interested in, and our content partners are the ones who provide the content that really fuels that conversation even further. So we work with 950 publishers all over the world to bring that content to the Twitter platform. So we work with sports leagues, TV broadcasters, news organizations, music producers, and more to do exactly that.
That's great. And could you give me an example of one that has been particularly successful, I guess, both for you at Twitter, but also for the publisher?
Absolutely. So I would say the NBA is one of our longest standing and most innovative publishers on the platform. They, from the very beginning, have always said to us, when you are doing something new, we want to be first. And every year that we've worked together, they've continued to move things forward. So it started back in the beginning with real-time highlights of games, and it's grown to so much more since then. So, as you may have seen in recent seasons, we now have a fan-voted ISO cam. So during games, Twitter people can vote on the player that they want to see on the ISO cam while they're watching the game on broadcast. And I think that's also a really important thing to note, because one of our philosophies of our partnerships is that we are complementary to our partners. We have never intended to be competitive. And that has really allowed us to build a significant amount of trust with our partners. So our partnership with the NBA and their broadcast partner, Turner, have really allowed us to go all the way in bringing this to fans, and it's been incredibly successful.
That's great. And I was going to get to this later, but I mean, this is the perfect segue talking about the NBA. Obviously with the pandemic in full effect, live events are in many ways on hold. Those that are happening without audiences. I know that especially with our reporting, we've always sort of talked about Twitter as a second screen. Even when there was a live audience, that this was a place where communities could be built and that sort of interaction could be fostered. So now that this is kind of a necessity, how are some of those publisher partners of yours adapting?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Of course, everyone at first took a pause to really make sure that we're caring for our teams and getting our feet under us. But then we very quickly started to work with partners on what does our content partnership look like in this new world. And again, as they have time and time again, like I said, the NBA has been incredibly creative in doing that. So with sports, as you said, really being the second screen on Twitter, we continue to say, well, with fans not being in the arena, but with Twitter really being the roar of the crowd, how do we marry those two things together? And what we ended up doing was giving the opportunity for fans to tweet and have those tweets show up in the bubble, so that the players could see the love and see the fans really cheering them on, even though they were not with them. The NBA also did something really creative with us called Tap to Cheer. So for certain games, what we're able to do is have people tweet for their favorite team during the game, and those tweets, the volume of tweets, are shown in the arena, and with the two teams competing not only on the floor but also on the screens in terms of the fans' cheers. So that was really creative and exciting for us to work with them on.
Are there any other ways that the pandemic has shifted the shape some of these partnerships are taking?
Absolutely. So I will shift over to the entertainment space. And as you can imagine, award shows are definitely taking a different approach by necessity during the pandemic. And we've had a long-standing relationship with the folks at MTV, so now Viacom CBS. And we've always done a really creative partnership around the Video Music Awards. Last year, what we did with them was we created something called the Stan Cam. So for those who don't know, Stan means like a super fan. And so last year, the Stan Cam was people on Twitter could vote to say which celebrities' reactions they wanted to see on the live stream to the crazy things that tend to happen every year on stage at the awards. Now, obviously, in the pandemic, things were very different. We couldn't necessarily do that because they didn't have a live audience. So they got really creative once again, as they always do. And instead of having the fan reactions in the audience, they had performers lined up all around the world so that fans could vote on which celebrity performers they wanted to see watching the show from home or even performing from home. And they did, between the pre-show and the show itself, they went live 37 times with these fan-voted celebrity reactions. So it was super fun and obviously very well received.
How do you choose the partnerships that you sort of go all in on, that you really invest in?
It really is starting first and foremost from our ability to listen to people on Twitter. What are they tweeting about? What do they care about? What kinds of content do they have an appetite for? So we're doing that listening and then going out and talking to those partners who can really uniquely satisfy those types of content. There's tremendous conversation around live events and entertainment, as you can imagine, because Twitter is the place that people come to talk about what's happening in the moment. Historically, we've had partners across entertainment who do award show red carpets. So we've done red carpets for the Oscars, the Emmys, etc. And we're continuing to evolve those relationships, like we said, during the pandemic. And certainly there is a huge appetite on the platform for news content as well. So we have partnerships with the likes of the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg and BuzzFeed. And we also recently announced a new partnership with WebMD to satisfy the increasing amount of information that people are seeking around health topics. And, really, so many of these partnerships have been long-standing over many, many, many years. They started, like I said earlier, with highlights, and they've continued to evolve and grow and get bigger as we build that relationship and build that trust with them to do more and more creative things. And what those creative things tend to be are thinking of ways to really integrate the partner into the fabric of the product experience that people are having on Twitter. So for example, we started with highlights. Twitter started to be able to live stream content, so that became a big part of a lot of our partnerships. We also have the Moments product, which is a curated collection of tweets around something that's happening. We have partners who are creating moments around the biggest moments in sports, in entertainment, in news. So really, taking a page from our product experience first, because that's what people are building into their content consumption, and then enriching those with content from partners.